Hey, what is up, guys? Is Instant here. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. In honor of, well, in honor of the new season starting, honestly, probably the day this goes up or the day after this goes up, I'm going to be finally taking a look at the base designs of the characters of Marvel Rivals as of season 4.5. And right before season 5. I will, going forward, if there is interest, I will most likely cover the base designs of any new characters. So for next season, it's going to be Gambit and then Rogue at season 5.5. Sorry. Um, so I'll probably cover Gambit when he releases, because I do plan to do some stuff around that. Um, and then I also will cover Rogue's design and then any other future characters. Apparently, I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but apparently in the final gallery card for next season, which spoilers if you don't want to know about that stuff until you get it through the pass. I'll give you a sec to go forward, like 30 seconds, give or take. Um, but apparently it's hinting at Deadpool and then Elsa Bloodstone, which I mean, I'm here for it, which my only concern is that I feel like that would be a double DPS season again. And I mean, if we go, last season was a double DPS. This season was a DPS tank. Next season is going to be a strategist and either DPS or tank. I don't know if we know what Rogue is yet. I would assume tank, but she could be a pretty fun DPS. But I feel like there's enough flying DPS to where they don't. I would hope they don't want to have too many DPS flyers off rip, just because then that'll encourage flying comps a little too much, and those are already frustrating to deal with. But that's for a different video. But we are going to get going with Adam Warlock to start with, and again, these are all just going to be my opinions. Um, if you disagree, let me know what your guys' top 5 and bottom 5 are for the base designs. Like top 5 favorite, bottom 5 favorite. I will give you my list at the end. Um, but yeah, and then if you guys want to see me touch on some of the classic costumes I wish that we could have, like I have a bunch of ideas. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. Even with just a like on the video would be great, because then that could show me that you guys are interested in seeing more content about that and lists and things like that, because I enjoy making them. Just gonna be honest. So, but we're gonna get going, and first off is my boy Adam Warlock. I really like the character. I'm gonna be honest, and I really like how he plays in the game. I'm not great with him. You can be pretty good with him, but I'm just not great with him. But design wise, I mean, it's pretty great. I like the design of the skin, to be honest. At first I really didn't because of how the line work is only on certain parts of the body. Like it's on most of it, but there's certain parts that don't have it, and it just kind of looks odd. But it's kind of grown on me. My only real complaint about the skin is the circle on his face. You can't really ever notice it, especially in gameplay. But the fact that it's there just really kind of irks me for some reason. I don't know why. Um, I don't use this normally. Um, I'll let you guys know if I use the default, but spoiler for 99% of characters, I don't. Um, just because they've been really good about giving out good free skins, which I appreciate. But yeah, I honestly, one thing I really love with this, which I haven't seen a lot of people mention, is I love the silver that's on the bits of the collar and the cloak. Like, for some reason, it's just having that there kind of almost reminds me of Black Bolt in a way, which I know they're not really related at all. Um, but I like that kind of design language, I guess. I don't know how to really, or the aesthetic of it. I mean, the boots could be a little less armored. I mean, the armor is super thin, so it's really not a problem, at least to me personally. I feel like, especially with a game like this, adding a little bit of armor to the designs, at least for the base canon designs, is what's going to happen. Just so that aesthetically, it's like, oh, well, the baseline is that, yeah, they look like they could take a little damage, but it is what it is. Even though Adam could just take damage like that anyway, which also, if in this 1 in a million chance some dev from NetEase sees this or some shit, um, fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. Why does that have to happen? Sorry, but if I could have one character get a complete kit tweak and give them one ability that I think could completely change their kit without completely breaking them, give Adam minor flight. Maybe for about half the time as Jean Grey or Phoenix, I mean, or maybe like somewhere about like 3/4 of the time. Um, just because then he has a little bit of more survivability. I know he has the revive, but that revive is on a long cooldown, which I feel like is good. I feel like that is fine how it is. But we're not okay. We're not going to go into that. But yeah, if I could suggest anything, it'd be that. But as a design, I'd say this is honestly about probably about an 8 out of 10. The only reason it's not a 9 is because I usually prefer Adam looks that have the sides covered with clothing. If the middle is open with the chest, that's fine, but usually I like it with the arms and the sides covered with the cloth. Just because I feel like that look kind of, I don't know, just fits the vibe, especially with the big collar. Just, I don't know, it just feels a lot more fitting to me. Um, but yeah, either way, really good design. Next up is Angela. It's a good design. I'm gonna be honest. Um, I don't really know what to say about it because it's hard to say because there is a lot going on with the war paint on the thighs, on the one thigh. I honestly really love the demonic slash heavenly wrap. I'm not quite sure what that is canonically. The blue wrap on her right side, left side of the screen, but her right side. Um, But yeah, I love the design of that. It being coiled around just reminds me of Ghost Rider. And again, if you remind me of something else I like, it's gonna make me like it a little more. But I also love is such a small detail, but I love the leather and the texturing and just the design of the belt slash cloth. It's not cloth because it's leather, but you get what I mean. Like it just fits the era of like what the design language usually is for the Asgardians and things like that. And for other characters around that realm, like characters from Hell, like Angela, um, and things like that, you know. So I just think it's really cool. And also, this is not gonna give the design bonus points, but the fact that she was technically a Spawn character that got brought into the Marvel universe, I know it'll never happen because it'll just never happen, but Spawn in this game would go so hard, or a skin for someone that gave them a Spawn skin, I would shit my pants. I know people would complain because then it would open the door for crossovers from stuff that doesn't fit within a comic universe, but oh man. If the crossovers were there, but they were only for like either free characters that you get from from just that update, or it's just a skin that you can get for free at the time. I think that'd be great. Um, or even if there was a paid one, if they wanted to do that, free would be preferred, obviously. But I mean, they got to make money. I get it, especially on crossover stuff. But if they did like a free crossover skin then a paid one, but it stuck to different comic book universes or different like things like that, I feel like that'd be something that could work. But again, that's never going to happen because these companies are never going to work together. But I'm going to stop rambling because it's going to be a long video as is. But I honestly I love the design of the golden arm and the arm bracers and all that stuff and the gauntlets. Well, the gauntlet, I guess. I love the fact that the spear turns into dual-wield axes. That's just sick. The headdress is gorgeous. The hair, I feel like, is like the perfect length because I feel like with Wanda's hair sometimes it can get kind of too long and too big to where it's like, okay, that's all I'm seeing is hair, and it kind of gets not too pleasing to look at. But here it's not too much, and the headdress and the arms kind of help make it a little better too. But yeah, I'd say this design is like a 9 out of 10. I mean, I don't really know how else you can improve it, but I also feel like it's not necessarily perfect. Like for me, I would prefer if the parts up here maybe were a little bit taller, I guess. Just because I feel like having nothing on this side just kind of looks odd compared to this. Like the asymmetry is kind of bugging me a little bit, but otherwise it's a great design. Next up, we got Black Panther. I mean, this one's not going to take long. It's Black Panther. I mean, it's a good design. I do wish he was a little bit darker. I get why he's not, because if he was too dark, then it would be a problem for, um, it'd be even worse from a gameplay standpoint. I completely get that, especially in a game that's aiming to have some competitive element. I get it. But I'm not gonna lie. I can understand the gameplay reasons, but and also I don't know if it's just me, but right now for some reason I don't know if it's the lighting, but it's making the area around the cursor over here kind of look pixelated a little bit, like it's not fully loading in. I don't know if that's just me or the lighting, but if it's just the lighting, let me know down in the comments. But if you guys see it too, or if you guys play the game and you notice it, let me know. Um, but my only real complaint, legitimately, that I have is where some of the gold bits and different coloration are. I don't really like that there's the bronze bits outlining the kind of abdomen pectoral region and then kind of around the hips as well, like the inside of the hips. I don't really like that because I kind of just wish it was just one. I prefer Black Panther suits personally to be more of a just bodysuit, instead of being segmented pieces of a bodysuit and just having that sleek look. I just think it looks nicer and it fits the character more. Um, Especially since this one's from 2099, if I remember correctly. So this is a even more advanced Black Panther suit, which you can tell from the back, which I kind of wish the bronze bits were, and like the bronze slash gold bits were just either like a very dark gray, or that they were, at least the more metallic bits on the top were purple like this, um, like the lights. But the design is not bad. It's just the coloration is not something I personally enjoy. And I'm not going to talk about recolors of the base designs unless I really have something special to say about it, but most of the recolors are just fine. Or they're really bad. But for Black Panther's design, I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10. I wish there was just more of a sleek bodysuit look. Um, and the bronze was limited to maybe the gauntlets, the boots, and then the actual necklace part. Um, that I don't know if that's where the suit comes out of for this one. I'm not sure. I would assume based off the energy in the middle of it that that's how that works, and everything, but I have no idea. Um, yeah, I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10. Make it more uniform of a design and take away the torso discoloration mainly and just keep the suit mainly black, except for the accents on the gloves, the chest up here, and then the boots. And I'd easily say it's a 10 out of 10 personally. But next up, we're going to Black Widow. I don't really have a lot to say about her. It's fine. My only complaint is that her hair is so big. And I honestly, this isn't really a complaint, more of a nitpick. I'm personally not a huge fan of the orange slash bronze kind of mines on her waist because it just kind of doesn't work with the color scheme, in my opinion. If it was black and red, or even like a dark gray, kind of like the center of the chest is, and then red as the line work and things like that, then I feel like, that could be pretty good, but it's just bugging me. But otherwise, I mean, it's Black Widow. What do you expect, I'd say it's probably like an 8, 9 out of 10. And it's Black Widow. Next up, we got my boy Blade. I'm not gonna watch all the cutscenes. I don't want this to be too long. I really like his design. I love the tattoos on his right arm. I really like those. I just think it's cool. Um, I always thought tattoos would fit Blade, and I mean, it's basically just again, it's kind of like the Black Widow design. It's kind of just Blade. I mean, the torso is a little bit more armored than usual. It looks like. I mean, normally he has chest armor anyway, at least in the movies, and then in some of the comics. I know in the comics there's a lot of different looks for Blade. I get that, but it's kind of almost a timeless type of aesthetic for him because it's got the coat that he usually has in most of his looks. Um, he's got a slightly more armored aesthetic, which he's had numerous times in the comics. You know, with especially the chest armor and a little bit of a heavier belt. Um, the boots are just kind of normal boots with extra padding. Makes sense. The jacket looks like a jacket you could actually just buy. You know, like it looks like he's done modifications to it, but it looks like an actual jacket that he just modified, which most likely is why it doesn't have the sleeves. I would assume that was his doing, and that it didn't come like that, and that he chose to cut the sleeves out, either for easier mobility or whatever it may be. But I just think it's great. Whatever the lore reasons are, whatever, it's great. The design of the weapons is good. You know, the main sword's pretty great. The one for his ultimate's pretty great too. I got no real complaints. I'd say this one's honestly probably a 9 out of 10. And I only say 9 out of 10 because I personally would prefer again, little bit, because I love the tangible suits like this where you can tell what it would be like to maybe wear it or feel it or make it or whatever it may be. But I also, with Blade, kind of just love the leather jacket, chest armor, and then just like pants and boots. And that's like it. Maybe gloves, if that, just depending. Um, but that vibe is just such a good vibe for me. But this is a great design. But yeah, I'm gonna move on. Next, we got a triple whammy, which is gonna be rough. We got Bruce Banner, Hero Hulk, and Monster Hulk. Okay, Bruce Banner. Let's try to speed run these quickly. He's pretty good. Bruce Banner. The hair doesn't really fit him. I feel like. Um, just personally, I feel like it would fit Amadeus Cho more, especially given the bio belt idea, like the idea of having a device you use to control your transformations. I mean, I get why they didn't, because I know they were already putting. Fuck, I forgot his name. I forgot who fucking Iron Fist is in this game, but the new Iron Fist they have in this game, who's not Danny Rand, he used to be known as Swordmaster, but then that's a different story. We'll get to that later. But I get why after that change they didn't want to change Hulk to be Amadeus Cho, because then people would be like, oh, not only Iron Fist but also Hulk. We can't even have Bruce Banner. I get it's one of those things where it was probably just not worth it unless they plan on introducing him later, which having him as a strategist could be interesting. Just saying. Um, kind of have him be the Mr. Fantastic equivalent for strategist, which I know sounds weird when I have him be a Hulk variant, but it could work. But again, we'll talk pitches and stuff like that in a different video. But the Bruce Banner design's fine. I hate that the socks don't go high enough to cover the skin at the bottom, but you're barely ever Bruce, so who cares? Hulk is fine. He's Hulk. He's got the big eyebrows. He's got the hair mainly on the top of his head. He's nice shade of green. It's Hulk. Same thing with like Black Widow and kind of Blade to an extent. If you really have an issue with it beyond the belt, then I don't know what to tell you, because take away the belt and it's just Hulk. Like that's all they have to do for a classic skin for him. But they'll probably do that eventually anyway. Never want to freak out. But next up, we got Monster Hulk, which is fine. I mean, it's kind of just. I feel like it's more of a Devil Hulk take than anything else, which is fine. You know, or at least a way to do that that wouldn't completely break the game in terms of power level and stuff like that. The only thing that confuses me is I'm assuming there's nanotech in the shirt and the belt, because if there's not nanotech in either of those, then whichever one doesn't have the nanotech should be not this big. Like the shirt must have nanotech, otherwise he wouldn't be able to tear out of it and back into it. But I don't know. But I mean, I'm gonna just be honest. Bruce gets like an 8. He's fine. I'm not gonna say he's a 9 out of 10. It's a fine design. It is what it is. Hero Hulk is like a 9. I mean, again, my only preference would be maybe a different haircut, but I get that it's a similar haircut as he has as Bruce, so can't really complain. And then Monster Hulk is probably like a 9 out of 10. No real complaints, you know. Next up, we got Captain America. This one's gonna take like not even a minute because I don't like this design. This is more so seemingly based off of Bucky's suit in terms of having the predominantly darker legs, having the stripes kind of on the side of the suit to an extent, and then having the blue mainly relegated to the top of the chest area. I'm not really sure how to describe it. And from there up into the sides. So, which I think that the coloring of the suit is not bad. I just don't love how armored it is. I get this is because this cap comes from 2099, where he is unfrozen in 2099 instead of in the past, or in the quote unquote modern day. Um, so this is the first suit he really gets to use post World War II. So that's understandable, but I just, especially when they have a classic cap in the game now, it's kind of hard for me to justify using this. But I also just don't like techie cap suits usually. Just not my thing, personally. I don't. No, it's not disrespect to anyone that likes those. It's just personally not for me. I'd say this is like. It's gonna sound really mean, but I'm gonna say this is like a 6 out of 10. Next up, we got Cloak and Dagger, which I will review them separately and give them a score as a group as well. But speaking on, we'll say Cloak first, just because his design's a little simpler. It's pretty good. I really like it. I love the aesthetic of the Shadow Realm kind of showing through with the stars and everything. It's just really cool looking. I like the fact that you can see his face and he has colored eyes and that they're not just white eyes. I really like that. I like that you can see his hair. I've always really enjoyed being able to actually see Cloak's hair, to actually see the more human side of him. Because he is just a guy. He's powerful, but he's a guy, you know? Yeah, it's cool. You know, I like it. I love the design of the cloak itself. I enjoy the chains around the arm and with how that looks like, almost makes it look like wrappings around that specific arm with the chains, and that's what's keeping him linked to Tandy, which is probably the case. Let's be honest. Yeah, it's so cool. And the fact that he has arms, but they're just pitch black is so cool. And then I do appreciate that there's not stars on the arms, because then it shows that him and the cloak are technically separate entities to an extent. At least as far as I'm aware, unless they change that in the word for this game. But Dagger's design, it's fine. I'm not a huge fan of the blue, white, and yellow, and then the black on the hips. And also the padding on the thighs just kind of feels weird. Again, I get to an extent they want to armor him up a little bit. But especially for the street level people, it's kind of odd, unless Cloak and Dagger are not street level canonically in the game, then I guess. But like also, I feel like your base design that most players will use, you know, if they play with the character, unless they buy a skin before trying out the character. You know, I don't know. I feel like it should be a little bit closer to what their core design normally is, or something reminiscent of it. Which the bodysuit, if you took away the padding right here and then the armor plating on the thighs, I would have no complaints about the bodysuit. It's pretty good, you know. I like the chest detailing. I actually kind of enjoy the little jacket as well, like the crop jacket. I think it's cool. I love the design of the hair and the little crescent marking. Perfect. You know, it's just great. It's a good design. Not perfect, not amazing, but I'd say this is a solid as a group. 8 out of 10. They complement each other well. Um, Dagger herself is probably about a 7 personally, and then Cloak I'd say is about a 9. That's why I'd say that they'd average out to about an 8. Next up is the GOAT, my boy, Daredevil. I love this design. Just gonna be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of the armor at first. I get why it's there, makes complete sense. Um, but the more I've used mainly the recolor, the more I've gotten used to the armor itself, and now really paying attention to the armor in the base design. It's not bad. It looks honestly better here than on the Fearless Origin version, because that's mainly where you're getting the red, which is my only complaint with this suit. Is I prefer the red bodysuit for Daredevil. Same thing with Black Panther. I prefer a slimmer bodysuit, but especially for Daredevil, who's known as more of a low key kind of guy, having something this armored feels a little weird. Um, but again, makes sense, so it doesn't bother me too much. But that's just a preference. I like the fact that he's actually ginger. I think that's kind of funny. Because that kind of gets forgotten about by a lot of people because of Ben Affleck and Charlie Cox's version, especially Charlie's version, because it's been so iconic, which I have a feeling for season 2 of Born Again, they're going to bring that skin, which I'm probably going to be a sucker and buy it because that suit's just gorgeous, especially if it's the Shadowland suit. But, which I also get that this is somewhat based off the Shadowland suit in the sense of having a darker aesthetic, having the, darker tones in general. I get that, especially the black bodysuit is very clearly supposed to be the Shadowland suit with armor on top of it, which is great, which honestly makes me just want a Shadowland suit because it would be just gorgeous and so sleek. But if they want to give us the season 2 suit and then give us just a classic red bodysuit, I'll take both. I will be a Daredevil whale. I will get all of his skins if they're good. But yeah, honestly, you could make a pretty great classic suit off this. Take off the armor, and then change the coloring of the suit to be red, and take away the collar, presumably. And it's literally just a perfect Daredevil suit. I mean, you could connect the mask to the suit as well to really seal that. But yeah, it's a great design. I love the design of the horns. I kind of like the design of the Billy Clubs. They're not my favorite, but they're good. I'd say this is a 9 out of 10, personally. Next up, we got Doctor Strange. I really don't have a lot to say about him. It's fine. I'm not a huge fan of the top part of the collar. It's just not something I enjoy. It makes his head look really tiny, which I feel like for a tank is kind of the opposite of what you want to do, but, it is what it is. I like the design of the amulet on the chest, how it kind of, is animated a little bit with the spinning. But yeah, I mean, I know I'm getting really quiet, but I just don't have a lot to say about this suit. I'm not a huge fan of all the gold detailing on the legs. The boots are fine, but between the top of the knees and then the bottom of the waist guard and like the belt or whatever, I just wish it was black, personally. Same thing with the arms. I kind of wish the gold was limited to right here. But I feel like the gold on the arms tracks a little bit better than the legs, but it's Doctor Strange. It's fine. I'd say it's like a 7 out of 10. Just the coloring and detailing is not what I'd prefer. Next, we got Emma Frost, and we are not watching that because, yeah. Um, it's a good design. I mean, it's pretty fashionable, which is something Emma would give a shit about, let's be honest. The cross hatching on the sides, which is shaped like diamonds, which makes sense for her, is something she would totally put into one of her suits. I honestly love the choice of having some diamond parts actually on the suit, especially smaller detailing like this on the bodysuit itself. I think that's great. I think that is totally something she would do. Diamond nails, I could totally see her doing because why wouldn't she? You know, she's got the option. Um, I could see it, or it's just very iridescent blue nail polish. I can't tell, but either way, it fits her. The blue is something I've been kind of mixed on, but it works. You know, it fits it, especially with the lighting in this game and the art style. The diamonds and her powers kind of go blue, which I'm sure was made partially to make the design work more, but it works. You know, I would prefer if we could have the blue parts be white, just because then we could have an all white Emma look, which, I mean, if we can get an all white Emma look, which from the trailer for next season, it seems like we're going to get her in like a suit, which is mostly, if not all white. So I'm like, it's something. Or a pantsuit, that's what it is. It's a pantsuit. So it's a modified suit. It's, you guys can see. But honestly, I also do like the tailcoat because I feel like when playing as her from behind, if you didn't have that, it'd be really boring. And I know people would be like, oh no, because then you'd get cake. And it's like, yeah, whatever. But from a design aspect, this honestly just makes it feel more cohesive in my mind, at least personally. And also the design of the handpieces is great. Fits the regal vibe she's always going for. But yeah, I'd say this is like 9 out of 10. Again, make the blue parts white. I'd say it's 10 out of 10. But pretty good. Groot it's Groot. You know, my only complaint is I'm not a huge fan of the green parts on his shoulders being so big. But I mean, I get that's most likely to help draw attention towards the head area to make it so that he's not super hard to kill, especially between all the walls and everything like that. But it's Groot. It's fine. I'd say Groot's honestly. Oh shit! Sorry. God damn it. I didn't mean to do that. Groot's like a 8 out of 10. It's fine. Nothing exceptional. Nothing amazing. Next up, Hawkeye. It's a cool design. I like the design of the bow with the little bladed parts. Makes sense. I like the design of the actual suit itself. How it seems like it's a bodysuit with one sleeve, and then you put armor on top of it, gloves, um, a little extra plating on the sides here, a belt to hold the plating on top of the suit, things like that. Makes sense for the character to an extent. I love the face mask. Doesn't really This aesthetic doesn't really fit how he's written in this game because he's written a little more lighthearted for most of his lines. So the edgy face mask vibe doesn't really fit, especially with the kind of cloak. You know, the half cloak he's got going on the shoulder, but it's fine. The design itself works, even if the personality clashes. I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10. Next up, we got Hela. It's a good design. I mean, it's a green bodysuit with some protruding bits, which makes sense if she's at full power. Um, the cloak is a really gorgeous design. I really love it. The ethereal kind of vibe just fits. The design of the sword is good. The design of the headdress is really big, but I get why they did that. You know, the design of it is gorgeous. I love the fact that it's not only a headpiece, but you could tell there's a crown built into it, which really just shows off how much of a regal design this technically is. It's great. I'd say it's like a 9 out of 10. It's pretty basic Hela. Next up, we got Human Torch. Him and Invisible Woman and the Fantastic Four in general I'll kind of go through pretty quickly when I get to them because they're the same designs pretty much. Human Torch is fine. The coloration of the flames is good. I kind of wish his face was a little bit more flamey instead of just kind of being orange. Um, and that's mainly because the actual material used on the skin specifically for the glow is kind of weak because they turned his face a little more orange to compensate. And it kind of just doesn't look like his face moves as much as I feel like it should. And I know it's kind of lighting dependent, but I don't know. I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10. The suit's not my favorite. Just not really a fan of the segmented design of it personally. The blacked out version works a little bit better because it's more blue, but the all white is just not something I really like for the Fantastic Four. So I'd say it's like 7, 8 out of 10. Invisible Woman, same idea. It's a fine design, but I just from the back it's better because I do like the little shoulder pauldrons and this part on the back. But I still don't like the segmented design. I don't like the all white. It's not great. I'd say it's like a 6 or 7 out of 10. Next up we got Iron Fist. He's fine. It's a good design. I mean, it fits the character. I actually really love the wraps around the arms. I like the design of the mask. The design of the bodysuit's pretty good. It's pretty simple, which fits for what it is. It's regal enough to where the title of Iron Fist works for it. But yeah, it's pretty good. I'd say it's like a 9 out of 10 personally. You know, I'm sure there could be better, but it's pretty good. Iron Man, I hate his base design. That's probably going to be my lowest ranking so far. I don't like how chunky he is. Just not a fan. I hate the helmet design. Not because it's different from the MCU. I actually prefer different designs than the MCU suit. Or suits, I guess. But this one's just... it's... Where the cheekbone is looking at up there is way too high. That needs to be a little bit lower, I feel like, to kind of balance out. Because there's this gap between the top, the peak of that, and then the lights, and that gap just looks so weird. If that was spaced a little better, it'd be fine. I'm not a huge fan of the black between on the arms. It kind of looks out of place. I'm not a huge fan of how big the triangle arc reactor is. I like that the parts move around it. That is a really interesting design choice, I'm going to be honest. And how animated the suit is, but the blue line work through it is not something I personally enjoy. And it's just too red, especially from the back. I'd say this is like a 5 out of 10 personally, and that's me being generous. Jeff, this could take like 2 seconds. It's Jeff the Land Shark. It's 10 out of 10. How else are you going to make Jeff the Land Shark? You know? I get he's a little bit different than in the comics, but for gameplay purposes, it makes sense. And it's Jeff. You can't really get much better than that in terms of the design for the character. So which I know sounds crazy that Jeff's the first 10 out of 10, but what are you going to complain about with it? But next up we got Loki. I'm torn on this suit. I love the cape. I love the helmet. I love the scepter. I love the coloring. I honestly love the separated design of the chest. It works for Loki for some reason for me. I love the little drapes from the cloak going around the arms. Then the pieces holding the cloak attached look good. It's great. It's great. My only thing I don't really like is some of the blue bits. Like his color scheme is green and gold. I get trying to do different stuff, but I feel like if anything, they could have made those bits black, and it would have fit a little better, but that could just be a nitpick. I'm going to say this is about, honestly, probably a 9 out of 10, personally. Luna Snow, it's fine. I kind of prefer when she has the bodysuit, super suit she's had in the few comics she's been in, as opposed to this more casual look. But, I mean, it's fine. For the look she supposedly uses on stage and things like that, and just normally, it makes sense. I mean, the crop jacket, again, makes sense. The shirt makes sense given her background. The choker, again, makes sense. The ice glove is a cool look. And I love that there's little bits securing it around some of the fingers. It's fine. I mean, it's Luna Snow. I'd say it's like a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Magic is pretty great. I mean, it's magic. I mean, the only thing I'm not a huge fan of is the difference with the arm. I personally prefer when the arm is just a giant metal sleeve for the most part, as opposed to a gauntlet and then a shoulder piece that are separate. But that's just me. You know, the design of the sword is great. It's pretty big. Very huge here, which is great. And honestly, her Darkchild form is great. And here it looks more like it, especially from the back, depending on how the hair looks when you're moving. But yeah, I'd say the Darkchild design is like a 10 out of 10. I'd prefer if it was connected, but it looks a lot better like this for the Darkchild form, so I can't really complain. And the base design, I'd say, is a 9 out of 10. If this was all one piece, I would honestly say it's 10 out of 10, personally. Next, we got Magneto. I'm going to be honest, my two complaints are the fact that the whole suit is gray. I get why it is, because it's all just metal pieces and things like that. And the red around the waist is fine. I love the red on the mask. The helmet's perfect. The cape is good. I just don't like these 3 dots, and I don't like the color scheme. But I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10. It's fine. I enjoy the X on the wrist, or the wrists, but there's better. Next, we got Mantis. I'm not a huge fan of. Honestly, the only thing I'm not a huge fan of is the wrist devices. They don't fit the suit. The rest of her suit, except for the little bits on her knees, are all natural or based off of more natural aspects. So having such high-tech pieces on the wrists don't really fit. I know they fit for the lore, if I remember correctly, but it just does not really work from a design aspect. I wish they could have made it look more techie, natural infused, like natural, something that's more biomechanical than strictly mechanical, if that makes sense. But otherwise, it's a good Mantis design. I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10, personally. Fix that and it'd probably be a 9 out of 10. Mr. Fantastic, again, very basic design. The design of the back's pretty good. But I'm not a huge fan of the segmenting on the torso, so I'm going to say it's about a 7 out of 10. Pretty quick, but don't really have much to say. Moon Knight, I get why it's more plated, because if I remember correctly, this is $20.99 Moon Knight. But, I don't know, man. The cloak, the cape, and the hood are designed great. I love that it's a beak, because that makes a lot of sense. Not a huge fan of how pointed the arm guards are, but it is what it is. I enjoy the actual coloring of the suit. My only complaint is how chunky the belt feels doesn't really fit with the bodysuit. It fits with the gauntlets, which I'm sure which is, why they chose that. Because then the gauntlets don't feel too bulky and out of place, and it kind of tones it down a bit more. But I also don't like how bulky the gauntlets are, so if you tone both of those down, I'd like this a little bit more. I don't really care that some of the bodysuit's black as opposed to white, because most of the armor is where the color's coming from anyway. So it's largely fine. But yeah, I mean, all white would be great, but I'd say this is like an 8 out of 10, personally. Namor is pretty good. Don't know why he's got highlights. Not sure if there's room for that in the lore or not. But it's pretty good design. I love the armored gauntlet look. I've always just enjoyed that look for him. The design of the scepter is great. The little bit of armor plating on the right thigh is pretty good. I like the design of the wings. It's a pretty good Namor design. I'd say this is like a 9 out of 10 personally. Pretty simple, but it works. Next up, we got the design of Penny in the bodysuit and then the actual mech for Spider. We're going to start with Spider just because there's more to talk about. It's pretty good. I'm not the biggest fan of these bits on the arms. It's not something I enjoy. I don't remember what the kanji on the side mean. I do remember that the meaning was something fairly fitting for the character, but I just don't remember what it is. The design of the feet for the mech is good. The hands are good. I like that it's 4 fingers instead of 5 to make it feel a little bit more interesting looking. The design of the helmet's good. I mean, the mech in general is just pretty greatly designed. The bodysuit for Penny is weird. Not a huge fan of it, personally. Mainly because of the difference in colors. I get that this is meant to almost make it look like a cropped jacket, but built into the suit. But I don't like that, personally. If this was separate, but it was only held down because of this part being put on top of it, but you could tell that this was still separate, then I would be a little bit more okay with it. But having it just be built into it feels so weird. Like, I don't know. Penny herself, I'd give like a 5 out of 10. The mech, I'm like Spider, I'm gonna give a 9 out of 10. As a whole, I'll give him like a 7 out of 10. Next up, we got Phoenix. I do not like her base design, I'm gonna be honest. The headpiece is great, but pretty much from the neck down, I do not like this suit. The gloves are good. I will say that. The gloves and gauntlets are fine. But the torso, the shoulder pieces, and then the legs are just too much. Her design is way overcomplicated. I'm not a huge fan of the crystalline vibe of just the torso, the shoulders, and then these little bits here. I just don't think it looks good, personally. That's just my opinion. If you guys like it, that's fine, but I don't. I'd say this is like a 4 out of 10. Fucking hell. Sorry. Next up, we got Psylocke. I don't have a lot to say. It's fine. Not quite her design from the comics based off of the character they chose to be Psylocke in this game, which is confusing in and of itself, but it is what it is. I get wanting to avoid the whole Betsy Quinnon problem. I understand it's a lot. I get wanting to simplify it, but yeah. I honestly, the only thing I really like about this design is the fact that the little scarf kind of fades off into butterflies. I like that, but otherwise, it's just not my thing. I'd say this is like a 4 out of 10. Next, we got Rocket. It's fine. I mean, it's Rocket. I'm not a huge fan of the Mohawk, personally. Just never really been a fan of Rocket with a Mohawk, but I mean, the armor looks good. His fur is a good color and texture. The red eyes are fine. You know, it's Rocket. What else can you want? I'd say he's like a 8 out of 10. Next, we got Scarlet Witch. I'm not a huge fan of how pointed the shoulders are. The crown is fine, because normally I'm not a huge fan of the crown not connecting. But the fact that she's got a choker, she's got the earrings that are angled the way they are and shaped the way they are, almost gives it the illusion of being connected to the choker, so you still get the aesthetic of it, which is fine. The design of the gloves is good. The skirt, dress, whatever it's considered, is fine. I mean, it's Scarlet Witch. I'd say this is like a 7 out of 10. It's fine. Next, we got Spider-Man. Not a big fan of his design in this game. I love the mask. I love the coloring of the red and the blue. I love the black on the torso and the arms. Not a huge fan of the black on the legs. I personally wish the legs were just blue. Because if we could keep the black isolated largely to the torso, and then around the spider, that would be honestly gorgeous. But for the design it's fine. I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10. It's not bad. Squirrel Girl, don't really have a lot to say. It's like a 9 out of 10. Pretty much perfect. I don't really know what you can change, but I mean, I'd love to see them take it, an attempt at giving her their design of a super suit. Because I know this is largely how she looks, but I'd love to see her get her own like super suit sometime. Um, but yeah, the boots are great. The stockings are great. Well, they're just really big socks, but I guess not the stockings. But the fur around the shorts, the boots, and the jacket is such a great touch. The coloring of the tube top's good. Well, I don't know if it's a tube top or a crop top. I can't tell, but whatever it is, good. The tail's a good coloration. Yeah, everything's good. I'd say 9 out of 10. No real complaints. Next up, we got Star Lord. I like Star Lord, but I do not like his guns. They're just kind of generic blasters, in my opinion. But I do like the mask design. I like the the jacket design. The boots make sense. I kind of wish they weren't so big and went up so high. But it is what it is. The armor on the chest is a good touch. I do like the design of the helmet during the ult, how it becomes more like I forgot the name of the storyline, but more like his quote unquote classic helmet, as most people refer to it as. Um, but yeah, I'd say Star-Lord's design is like a 7 out of 10. It's fine. Just not a big fan of blue for him. Next, we got Storm. I like the X on the chest. I do enjoy that. I never noticed until now that the bodysuit for this one is not connected to the boots, because I've never like zoomed into it, and I've only ever really looked at it at a distance. And with the lighting I have, it just looks the same color. But now that I'm paying attention to it, you can very clearly tell that that's her skin there, which means that that's her aspect there, which is interesting. But honestly, I love the design of the cape. I've always loved the connected cape for her, especially at the wrists and the back. It just looks so good. But yeah, the bodysuit's great. It's a good design. I've never really been a fan of the shaved side and then up, but they're doing the mohawk look without fully committing to it in a way that I feel like still works for the suit. So the hair fits the suit, it fits the design. I'd say this is honestly a 9 out of 10 for Storm. The only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 is personally the coloration of the bodysuit and the fact that the bodysuit is not connected to the boots. Outside of that, it's a great Storm design. Next, we got Punisher. I like the different skull design. I'm just going to say that off rip. Not just because of how it's been misused, but the fact that they brought it into the comics for a reason. I just think it's a good design, personally. I always felt like the basic skull was good, but a little basic, which fits, because he is just a dude. But I like them taking, especially in this game's art style, having the base design be a little bit more exaggerated with the skull. I feel like it fits, especially alongside the other base designs, because you got to kind of, and also I should have said this at the start, I'm grading on a curve, so I'm comparing all of the base designs to three things, basically: to each of the other base designs in the game, to what that character normally looks like in comics and different representations, things like that, and then how I personally enjoy that character to look. That's it. So for me, this is good. I'm not a huge fan of the green bits on the chest. I feel like those don't really fit. Just make those black. I feel like that'd be a lot better. But aside from that, it's good. The face paint's a good choice. I feel like that's interesting. But, it's fine. I mean, it's Frank. I'd say it's like 8 out of 10. There's better, but... Next, we got the Thing. It's the Thing. It's a great design. The face looks great. I like how he's got the exaggerated eyebrows, but they're kind of fading into it, so it's not as noticeable. I like the spikes on the shoulders. kind of gives him more of a unique aesthetic and silhouette, especially from the back. It's good. I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10. Gonna kind of speed through these last few. Next we got Thor. I'm not a huge fan of this design. I love the beard and the long hair. I love the headpiece. I love the design of Mjolnir in this game. The chest piece is fine. I'm not a huge fan of the double sleeves. I like the design of the sleeves. I just don't like the double sleeve look. I feel like the just one sleeve on either side would have been great. But yeah, it's a good design. I'd say it's like an 8 out of 10. Ultron is fine. I mean, I do find it interesting how this almost looks like these lines on the center almost remind you of a Null. Which is weird because as far as I know, there's no connection between Ultron and Null in the lore of this game, but it's cool. It's a cool aesthetic. The dark gray and red is a great aesthetic for him. I'd say it's like a 9 out of 10. It's Ultron. What more do you want? Same thing with Venom. It's great. I mean, I wish the black was a little darker, but again, like Black Panther, I get why it's not. Especially with his mobility. The white's great. Kind of almost reminds me of Ultimate Venom, which is interesting. But it's fun. I'd say it's like a 8, 9 out of 10. Winter Soldier. I like the jacket. I like the design of the arm. The mask design is great. The design of the gun's fine. The gear is fine. It's just pretty much a Bucky design. I just wish we had more of a black bodysuit look for him. But I'd say it's like a 7 out of 10. It's fine. And last, but kind of least, if we're talking height, we got Wolverine. He's fine. I'm not a fan of how wide he is, but the jacket is a fine design. The leather jacket look for him is good. I just don't like how much blue there is. I kind of just wish it was a normal jacket, but it's fine. I like the buckle. The boots don't really make sense. I feel like if they were brown, that would look a lot better. But the white shoes don't really fit him. So I'm going to give this design like a 7 out of 10. It's good, but fix the boots and fix the part right here, and I'd probably like it a little bit more. But yeah, I'd say it's like 7 out of 10. But my top 5 would honestly be Adam, Angela, Blade, Daredevil, and then honestly, and this is all based off of preference, I'm going to say Ultron. Bottom 5 would be Jean, Psylocke, probably Star-Lord, Wolverine, Iron Man, and then maybe the Fantastic Four in general, just because of how the suit's colored and designed. But yeah, again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. If you disliked the video, make sure to leave a dislike. Let me know what I can improve upon, and let me know what you guys want to see in the future. If you guys are excited for Season 5, let me know. And I will hopefully see you guys when Season 5 launches on this upcoming Friday. And, yeah, let's get it. And also, take care, stay safe, be good people, and just be kind to each other. Have a good one.